In 2022, we celebrate 130 years of HBCU football. On December 27th, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donald Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the 2022 season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag HBCU130. Now, here's your host, Donald Ware.
It's the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Wednesday, July the 27th. I'm Donald Ware, and hope you've enjoyed the podcasts over the last couple of days. Of course, we opened up the podcast with South Carolina State head football coach Buddy Pugh, as, of course, South Carolina State, the HBCU national champions. We're going to switch gears a little bit because I have a gentleman, as you can, if you're watching this, you can see him for those that are listening, on the line, as a matter of fact. He's one of the great promoters in the country. You talk about the State Fair Classic. Okay, he's promoted that game for many, many years. He is also promoting, of course, the game on September 4th in Canton, Ohio, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game between Winston-Salem State and Central State, which, of course, can also be seen on NFL Network. And a big-time doubleheader high school game. Like, you don't hear about this, and he's out of Dallas, Texas. You know, high school football is huge in Texas. Saturday, September 3rd, it's Duncanville in Texas taking on Jones of Orlando. That's the 3 o'clock game. And then the 7 o'clock game is DeSoto taking on St. Francis out of D.C. So he's got the national competition or some national programs coming to Texas. He's the one and only Al Wash, CEO and founder, of course, of ALW Entertainment, who joins us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. What's going on, Mr. Wash?
All right, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. We've been doing, you and I got to say thank you because, our program was a fledgling program, meaning in its infancy. Going back to 2008, I reached out to you for your classic and say, hey, we'd like to come in and broadcast. And you didn't have to do that. You've been doing this for quite some time. And we, even though we had some stations, you said, hey, let's do it. And we've been rocking and rolling ever since. So I got to say thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, I got to say thank you for doing what you do for HBCUs, because it's definitely needed across the country. And we need more people to support the HBCUs and programs like yours in order for corporate America to come in and realize this is where they should be spending their money.
No question. Let me start. We're going to talk about a number of different things. I want to start with the State Fair Classic between Grambling and Prairie View A&M. You mentioned, before this that, the game had been going on for so long in terms of the State Fair Classic in of itself. I saw an interview where this classic first started in Dallas, though, back in the day, Wiley was in it and some other schools, correct?
Correct. It was Wiley, and it started out with, it started with Langston and Wiley. And then it switched over to years later, Prairie View came in, and then Grambling came in with Prairie View, and it's been all history since then. But the game was promoted by a different company out of Houston, and they were in a lawsuit with Grambling and Prairie View. They wanted out of the contract with these with this company, which was Pace Management at the time, and they wanted out of the contract. So the settlement of that contract in court was that they had to promote 5 games free for the HBCU because whatever they was doing was wrong. And of course, we always know that. And they didn't want to spend no time and money. So they hired me to come in and promote the game, and my numbers was better than their numbers. And at that time, Prairie and Grambling got together and said, look, we're not promoters, but we see what you just did, increased the attendance. Coach Rob said, you need to keep putting these butts in these seats, son.
Man, that's great. You got to work with, of course, the legendary Eddie Robinson, but you were able to put yourself in this kind of position. I think we got to talk. I know we want to talk about the games, no question. We got to talk about you a little bit here, because you were able to put yourself in that position by having been a promoter many years before even doing football classics.
Oh, yes. I started out years ago. And when I first started, I wanted to do an act by the name of Al Jarreau. And they asked me, the booking agency said, have you ever promoted a show before? I said, no. And they said, well, why don't you go do a club, something in the club, and come back to us? And I said, this is not going to work like this. And I went and got a guy in Dallas by the name of Johnny Taylor. Cheaper to keep a disco lady. And I told Johnny, I want to do one of your shows. He said, son, I do my own show. He said, man, I can do it better. And he gave me that opportunity. Me and another friend of mine, we had the opportunity to promote the show. And we put so many people in there. People on the inside called the fire marshal on us and told us, we can't find no seats. And we end up doing all blues shows from Johnny Taylor, Millie Jackson, B.B. King, Bobby Blue Bland, Lil Milton, and everybody started calling us the Blues Brothers, because that was the only thing that they would sell us is blues. And we could go straight to the blues act and book them. But as time changed and rap came along, they didn't know what they had with rap. So we started promoting a little rap, and then plays came along, comedy came along, and we just started doing things that was new that they didn't know nothing. Booking agencies didn't know how it was going to work. They just knew that they had something, and I started buying it, and one thing led to another. So I think 1 year I did over 400 shows in 1 year. I was at home one weekend. I was single at that time, though. I was at home one weekend that whole year.
Wow. I know you had to have promoted or done a concert or work with the DOC. He's right there in Dallas. It's one of the greatest to ever do it, right?
DOC?
Yeah.
No.
The rapper, the DOC. He's from Dallas?
Well, no, I have never done him because he came along. He came along a lot later.
Okay.
But I was out of rap at that time. I had moved on from the Run DMCs and and Too Shorts and people like that. And I saw Too Short the other day at a basketball game. He lives in the West Coast, and he was at the basketball game. I said, man, that guy is still working out here. Too Short.
Yeah.
But we all, I guess they said the same thing about me.
Yeah, you're still doing your thing and you're doing it strong. How did you get in? I mean, you did talk about how you got involved, of course, in the State Fair Classic. It's grown so much. I think, 1 year, it's one of the highest attended classics in all of the country. But speak to how you were able to really build it, because, I mean, when you're talking about the 60s and you're talking about Prairie View A&M football, you're talking about something. When you're talking about the 90s in Prairie View A&M football, that was a whole different thing, because Prairie View A&M wasn't very good. Of course, it's come back. But how were you able to really promote that game, especially with a Prairie View A&M who at one time had lost like 77 straight games?
And I promoted every one of them, and I promoted every year we had, and they was like 80-some game losing streak, the longest losing streak. But the approach that I took on this is that I didn't market it as a football game. I marketed it as an event. It's a difference between a football game than an event. And when we've had it on the radio and the promotion, talking about the band, the Black Foxes, the world famous Grambling State Marching Band, and, they coming in here, and we had parades and things. And I mean, it just built up, and then it became, we were in and out of the fair for so many years, and the fair came to me and said, would you like to be in the fair every year? Because Texas OU was in the fair every year. So I looked at the numbers, and my numbers was greater during the fair time than out of the fair. So I said, yeah, I like to be in the fair. And they added a week onto the fair, and they put it at the beginning of the fair so I could be in the fair every year. And it was history. I've done as many as 64,000 people for the game, but we always promote it as an event. Now it's really truly an event, because now Prairie View has gotten more competitive, and they've beaten Grambling the last 4 years in a row straight.
That is the voice of Al Wash. He is the CEO, founder of ALW Entertainment, as he joins us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. Let's stick with the State Fair Classic. Of course, it's taking place October 1st. It's going to be at the Cotton Bowl, October 1st in Dallas, right around the State Fair Classic. Grambling and Prairie View A&M certainly going to get together. I saw somewhere, I didn't know this about you, that you didn't go you didn't go to an HBCU, which is fine. But you saw the opportunity to be able to promote Grambling and Prairie View A&M. Speak to that and really how you've seen HBCU landscape change in the years that you've been doing this.
Well, it's not so much as the landscape, and I didn't go to an HBCU school, but I'm Black, and I know everything about being Black. I feel like been black a long time now. And I say, if I can promote something, I can put our people in a place where other people can't put them. And that's what I do today. I take on events and I market them and still use that term, events. And even with the Grambling and Prairie View game, we have the fair. This year we have Ashanti. We have this is not a little county fair now. This is the world's largest fair in the country. So you can go to the fair every day for a week and never see everything. So you got car shows, you got livestock, you got, concerts, you got games, you got all kind of food. They take pride in that they fry up everything. You leave out there with your arteries clogged up. Fried beer, fried ice cream, fried donuts, fried everything, But you take pride in it, and it's something that we took pride in by having the legendary Eddie Robinson, and we even he beat Bear Bryant record in the Cotton Bowl that year, So he surpassed Bear Bryant as the winningest coach, even though it took him a while to recognize that. They didn't want to recognize it, and we was on the front page of Sports Illustrated. First time a Black coach has ever been on the front page of Sports Illustrated at that time, Yeah. So we done came a long ways,
No question about it. Speak to being in the community. You're really involved. That's the thing. You're really involved in the community right there in Dallas. You promote concerts. You promote them all over the country, but you're really involved in the community there in Dallas.
That's true, and it's a funny thing. I do more things outside the community than I do in the community. This game is the #1 Black event in the state of Texas. Nobody put as many people under one roof as we do on the Grambling and Prairie View game. So we kind of take pride. The city came in and embraced us and said, hey, we gonna support you financially. The state fair support us financially. We have other people, we have from Crooked Wireless, Chevy, and the Sports Commission, and they recognize that this game is just as big as Texas OU, even though Texas OU does 94,000 people, and we'll still average somewhere in the neighborhood about 50,000 people for our game, and we has done as many one year when the stadium only held 72,000 people, we did 64,000. Where everybody said, "Oh, he done sold out the stadium," But now they done enlarged the stadium to 94,000. We do 50,000. We still look half empty, but we still have a lot of people and a lot of. And the thing about it, we pull up our reports to see where people are buying tickets from. It's amazing to me. Like in one city in particular, Minneapolis, we sold 90-some tickets in Minneapolis. Alaska. We sold 40 tickets in Alaska. Des Moines, Iowa. We said, well, where are these people? Are they alumni from the school? And sometimes when you see that one ticket in one city, you say, boy, that's got to be a lonely man right there. Coming there buy one ticket, come this far for a game.
That is Al Wash, who's the president CEO of ALW Entertainment, joins us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. Let's transition a little bit because this has enabled you. We're going to talk about your doubleheader high school game, which I think is going to be absolutely big time and phenomenal. The other thing is you're doing some stuff with the National Football League now in terms of promoting that Pro Football Hall of Fame game on Sunday, September 4th. So the next day, not the next day after your high school game, but Sunday, September 4th, Winston-Salem State, Central State in Canton, Ohio. Speak to that. And again, I mean, you have the blueprint. So people are going to come and seek you for your expertise because you've had a lot of success throughout the course of your career.
Well, that particular game, I have to take my hat off to Doug Williams and Shaq Harris, who is the founders of the HBCU Hall of Fame. And they had been looking for a home. They said it was in Atlanta, but, they really didn't have a building. So the Hall of Fame people went to Atlanta and they said, hey, we want you to come to the Hall of Fame and make your home there. And then Doug Williams said, we need a classic football game here. And they said, we got the person that can promote it, and which is Al Wash. And they came to Dallas, visited me doing the classic game here, and they saw how I ran the game and the number of people. They looked up the history of the game, and like people say, I kept this game a secret. And I said, not really a secret. I kept it off of TV for a long time because I said, I didn't want people to know that why and how we could put that many people in a stadium and a team hadn't won a game in 8 years. And they said, how do you do it? And it goes back to what I've learned in the 101, promoting, marketing in the community, and get the community behind you, the churches behind you. And we got a great community here in Dallas. So, and we've had other games try to come in here and play, and they just didn't work, So we they support the game very well. Grambling is in Louisiana. Prairie is here in Texas. They both have great traditions. They both have a lot of alumni here in Dallas. They both have great bands, and both of them are great institutions. So, it works here for us.
Then, of course, in that game, we're talking about Winston-Salem Central State is the Pro Football Hall of Fame game, Sunday, September 4th in Canton, Ohio. But the day before that, before I even transition to that, I got to ask you about this. I love the motto, which it's what it is, but I want to get your thoughts on it. The show must go on. Ever since I've known you, that is your motto. The show must go on. Talk about, what does that mean to you? Why did you come up with that?
Well, we've had some opportunities that we have, even with the COVID, we played the game and it played in the spring. We had a high school game and it stormed so bad. And I'm saying, fellas, how we gonna work this out? And the coaches said, man, we gonna play the game, man. We just let the lightning stop, And we started about 2 hours late, played the game, and we was late getting out of there. And, we lost a lot of money, but we just kept going with it. And that's been our thing, to where I very seldom would cancel anything, R&B, comedy. I can't even remember the last time we canceled a show. If people pay a ticket for an event, they should get that event. And people, promoters, should be loyal enough to, don't cancel a show because you're going to lose money. You always going to lose money in this business. It's an up and down business, and that's why I play the volume game. If I do 150 shows in a year, I'm going to lose on 50 of them. That's part of business. You don't make money year round on every event or everything that you do, And we're in a 3-year contract with the Hall of Fame. This is our 3rd year of the 3-year contract, which they already saying, find the game for next year, find it. We're ready to roll.
All right.
And they have lost money the past 2 years. We had Grambling and Tennessee State last year. The year before that, we had Alabama A&M and Morehouse. The year before that, and one year we had to pull the game because of COVID, but COVID stopped us, so we just couldn't have it that year. But other than that, we play our games, and dealing with the high school game the year before, Duncanville, if you don't know, is probably the winningest program, one of the winningest programs in the country. And the head football coach, Coach Samples, he's a Black coach, and he has won more high school football games than any Black man in the state of Texas. Wow. So, and that's what people don't realize. And I mean, they signed somewhere in the neighborhood 15 to 20 D1 ball players every single year, every year. So DeSoto it's a rivalry school, right? It borders Duncanville, and they had a game already set with Washington, D.C. game, St. Francis, and all 4 of these coaches are Black. Not that I play all Black coaches, but last year we did Duncanville play Mater Dei, which Mater Dei was ranked number 1 in the country, and Duncanville, we was ranked probably about number 8 in the nation, and but Mater Dei was truly number 1. They came in here and they showed us they was number 1. But, Duncanville has a great program. Like I said, they put a lot of ball players in D1 schools all over the country, and they do a good job. And even the DeSoto coach, they wide receiver, he just signed with the University of Texas, when the other the kid that signed with the quarterback signed with the University of Texas.
Yeah, Manning. You're talking about Manning. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when he signed the quarterback, and he is fast as lightning. So they're in the district together, and Duncanville, some kind of way he can pull it out. But he said this year he's not going to beat him. He said he's ready. He's loaded for bear this year. DeSoto.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Wash, and of course you're talking about your doubleheader Saturday, September 3rd, Duncanville taking on Jones of Orlando at 3:00, and then 7:00, DeSoto and St. Francis of DC. What are the differences between promoting this high school game opposed to promoting State Fair Classic or college games?
I don't really see a difference, but you have to research it, and you got to pull out what you think people want to hear about. People want to hear about high scoring. They want to hear about offense. They want to hear about who's the baddest defensive player on the team, and these kids live up to it. They all go D1s, so they live up to their reputation. And if you market it right and you have the right marketing tools with it, it's really not no different. And then I think the thing that helped me is I'm in Texas. This is football country. Dallas is football country. So and this is the first year that we taking a game to Fort Worth. We call it the I-20 Classic, the double hitter. And it's right there between Dallas and Fort Worth. And right outside of Fort Worth there, and I think it's going to be a great game with even the team out of DC. They was ranked number 4 in the country at the beginning of the season last year. So and they have a great ball club. So I don't think it's no difference, you know. At least I don't look at it as being any different. I promote them all, high profile. I do marketing. I spend money. You got to think about high school games. They only promote the week before the game because they got a game every week, you know. Well, with me, I'm already marketing the game. We've already selling tickets, you know. I mean, we're gonna have a great attended game that week, you know.
Man, it sounds like a lot of fun. Also, last thought: what's the favorite? Whether it's been a concert, a game, what's been your favorite promotion or the one that gave you the most joy, if you will?
Well, I mean, it always is something in the era of what you're promoting. When it comes, I do a lot of gospel, and when I look at gospel, Kirk Franklin, you know, I did about 10 shows before I even saw this guy on stage, and my staff kept saying, "Al, you got to come see him. You know, he got French cuffs. It was unheard of for a gospel artist. He danced on stage like Michael Jackson." I said, "Fellas, I don't need to see him. Just keep doing what y'all doing, and let's keep promoting it, and let's keep making money." So eventually I went on and saw the show, and Kirk lived in Fort Worth at that time. And he said, "Al, you in Fort Worth, Dallas, and I'm in Fort Worth. Why we can't get together and treat gospel like you treat the secular tours when you go out on the road?" I said, "We can." And we got together, and he said, "Well, I gamble with you, you know." And I said, "What does that mean, Kurt?" He said, "Hey, just pay me $5,000 a week. I like to shop. I like clothes." He was a single man, and I was single too, man. So I said, okay, I like that gamble. You know, I paid his band, hotel, travel, and everything. And then after the end of that tour, I think I paid Kirk like $1.3 million. That's unheard of 20 years ago.
Wow.
You know, I mean, we could have done anything, you know, and we didn't. We did the right thing by him, and he made a lot of money. I made money, you know. So I like gospel. I like classic football game because I worked with people like Fred Jones in Memphis. You know, even when he had problems, he called me. He said, "Big Papa, what can I do to get this game over the hump?" I said, "You really want to get it over the hump?" I said, "Bring in Grambling," because he was having problems just like he is today with Tennessee State and Jackson State. He said, "Really, you think I can get Grambling?" I said, "I can bring Coach Rob in there." He did it. It was off the chain after that, you know. So I like, you know, and I like dealing with people like Eddie Robinson and Doug Williams and Shaq Harris. These are legend people. These are people that go down in the history books, you know. I mean, so I like dealing with things of that nature. And then when it comes to, you know, even like comedy, the first theater Steve Harvey ever stepped on was for me. I did a show with Steve Harvey, and he had a little club here, and he was just playing club shows. I said, "Steve, let's take a stab and take you to the Convention Center Theater." He said, "Man, all right, let's try it." We did 5 shows at the Convention Center. In 3 days, we did 5 shows, and it was crazy, man. We, you know, we was young, we didn't know, and I brought him out the floor and let the pit come up. I had a fog machine. We didn't even know how to cut the fog machine off. You couldn't even see him come out the pit. It was so much fog, but we had a great time, and we sold out 5 shows. So, you know, those are some of the times, and even like Millie Jackson. You know, everybody said, "Millie Jackson?" We did a play called Young Man, Older Woman. young man, older woman, and she came up with the name of an album, and she was just doing the play to help sell the music. Turned out the play was bigger than the record. And we stayed on the road with that show for 2.5 years.
Wow.
2.5 years.
Wow.
Millie Jackson and Ronaldo Ray. That was it.
Oh, man. That's big. That is big time right there. Well, of course, he is a legendary promoter CEO. He is Al Wash. And again, he's got 3 events. So Saturday, September 3rd, it is the I-20 Classic in Fort Worth. It's a doubleheader. Duncanville of Texas taking on Jones of Orlando. The 7 o'clock game is DeSoto and St. Francis of DC. You have, of course, the State Fair Classic, which he's been promoting for many, many years. Saturday, October 1st at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, part of the Texas State Fair between Grambling and Prairie View A&M. And on September the 4th, he's got the Winston-Salem State Central State game. That is the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio's promoting all of those. Where can people get more information on your website?
ALW Entertainment. ALW Entertainment. You can go to www.ALW Entertainment and you can find all our events. We do a jazz series and we do a lot of different shows all over the country. So, right now we were just talking about Dave Carr. So we're trying to bring him back. We usually bring him every year and the COVID kind of knocked us off track. So we're trying to get that back on track, which we will next year.
Absolutely. Al Wash, President, Founder, CEO of ALW Entertainment, joining us here on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. Mr. Wash, been an absolute pleasure, and continued success in all you do.
Well, thank you. And you do the same.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at BOXTOROW.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on Box to Row with Donald Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on SiriusXM on HBCU, Channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on SiriusXM, Channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Box to Row for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.